Hey lilies, I'm back with another video and I'm bringing you these stack pins that you can make for your little ones. So I did 2 ways that you can make these stack pins and a bonus feature of how you can make your own pouch to put them in if you're gifting them to someone. So anyways, let's get started. So we're going to start off with a DIY version that you have seen all over YouTube if you looked up stack pins. The only thing that makes this video different is that I use 2 different sizes. So I went ahead and bought a 12 months and 18 months. And I did that because clearly the 18 months is bigger and longer. So you want to get a stacked effect, which you want to make the pants longer so you can stack them up at the bottom. They stack up at the bottom on its own. When getting the same size, you get that longer length, but it's really slim. So with using a bigger size, you get a wider thigh as well, and it just transitions real nicely from what I experience. So I definitely do suggest that if possible to get a bigger size than the size that you need for the second pair of pants that you want to attach to the first. So I went ahead and I cut from the thigh down to the ankles, and then I cut the hem off of both pants, and we're gonna go ahead and turn the 18-month pants pieces inside out and slip it right over the pants leg of the 12 months. We're going to line up the seams, and we're going to do that for both legs, and then we're going to go ahead and sew that. I used a lightning stitch. You could use a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch, whatever stitch that allows the pants to stretch on your machine. And I would not recommend serging. I serged the bottom of it, but it just made it really bulky at the seam, so I ended up cutting it off. The pants that I'm using is stretch material anyway, so I didn't have to do that. I just did it because I wanted it to look professionally finished. But maybe if I use a smaller serge stitch, it would have came out like less bulky, but you live and you learn. I would just recommend using your stretch stitch, whatever stitch that will allow your clothes, to stretch. That is the stitch that you will use to sew these 2 pieces together, as you see me doing here. Hello, but shout out to I'm So Feisty, Ash Chantel, and Natural Nikki. Thank you for being one of the 2 people to comment first. Thank you for supporting your girl. Now that both legs are sewn up, we're gonna go ahead and pull the pants leg down, and you officially have your stacked pants. They look cute. Now you see how it's bulky is because I did the serge stitch, but right now I'm tucking in the pants one time, you know, at the hem to make the hem, and we're gonna sew around that with the stretch stitch again, and you're finally done. You're done. Now this is how it looks on body.
Come here. Yeah, look at him. They so cute.
So let's get into making them from scratch. So I went ahead and got some gray fabric that mommy has approved of for her little baby girl. And I'm gonna go ahead and trace these pants. So I'm gonna begin by tracing out the front side of the pants, and I'm going to then flip it over and trace out the back side right next to the seam line of the front side of the pants, as you see here. And this is important because this pants that I'm creating is going to have no seam going down the outside of the leg. So we're going to then grab our elastic, whatever size elastic you're going to use. You're going to create that seam line for the waistband of the pants. And then you're going to add seam allowance so you could be able to flip over the waistband, because that's what we're doing, a flip over waistband, when you go to finish up the pants and add the elastic. Then we're going to lengthen how long we want the legs to be and bring it out some, making it like bell bottom, wide leg, and that way the pants will nicely hang over whatever sneaker or shoe you're wearing. And you see how I have that little dip, that triangle dip in the middle? That's so it could be even on both sides since it flares out, and there's no exact seam line down the middle to match it up. And I have 2 fabrics together, so I'm cutting 2 pieces of fabric together at once, and I'm labeling it front and back side. So we're going to sew up the seam lines for the crotch, and then we're going to flip it as you see, and we're going to line up the crotch, then pin or clip down each leg once you match up the crotch seams. Now, I don't like how it curves out so much there, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that in, cut that off, and then do the same for the other side to sew up using again your stretch stitch or serger. Now your pants is basically done and all you have to do is the waistband, but this part is optional. You could do a basting stitch right down the legs on both sides and gather the leg up. I did it with both pants just to show you and give you an idea of how you can do it and what it would look like, just in case you want to pre-stack the pants instead of doing it when you put it on. It will kind of look like that, like a ruffle effect, and that will just save time of doing it while it's on. But I like the look when people, you know, stack them on body instead of doing it pre-stacked. So let's get back to the waistband. I folded it over to leave space for my elastic to go through. I definitely was going for a paper bag effect, but I decided to change that so she has enough diaper space and stuff like that, so it could come up really nicely on her waist. And once I changed that design, I went ahead and sewed the elastic together using a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine, and I was like, okay, let me add pockets to it because it's looking too plain. So I cut 2 strips of like 2 inch in width, and I doubled the length of however long the pocket was, then fold that strip in half, and I used a basting stitch to gather those 2 strips, and I went ahead and ruffled it up and attached it to the pocket as you see, and sewed the pocket to the pants. Now I was supposed to do 2 pockets, but her mom said it looks great and it's fine with 1, so we stopped at 1. But if you want to do 2, you can definitely go ahead and do that. You're going to sew around the pocket onto the pants. It's best to make this decision before you put the pants together, but this is how it would look, and if you want to do the other pocket, you can go ahead and do so. This is what it looks like on body. She looks so cute. So for the leftover material of the 18-month pants, I just made them into shorts, so I just hemmed up the legs. I don't have how the shorts looked on her, but they would be pretty big anyway because they're 18 months and she just turned 1. So yeah.
Come here. Yeah, look at him. They're so cute. Hey, pretty girl. Hey.
Now this is the bonus feature. So if you want to make a pouch to put your little items in, this is how I went about it. I used leftover material in the house, so I had to be really creative. I took this thick wide ribbon and I cut it down to the size that I would need, and I took a lighter to burn all the sides on this ribbon because I didn't want anything to start fraying, especially since you cut the ribbon from what it originally was. Now I don't have any dimensions that I used to make this pouch bag. All I know is that I used the pants and stacked them up and made sure that whatever I cut would be able to go over and around the pants, and that's how I got my rectangle. Now I'm gonna fold over both sides like 2.5 inches, and I need it to be wide enough for the ribbon to fit through, so I made 2 lines that the ribbon can fit through, and now I'm gonna fold it together and I'm going to sew it right sides to right sides with a straight line, but I'm gonna miss over the part where the ribbon is supposed to go through. We're not going to sew those parts because we need the ribbon to go through. So then we turn the bag inside out, and I'm showing you I did not sew those parts up. And we're doing a French seam, so we're sewing another straight stitch right along, encasing the seam allowance. So once that's done, we're going to go ahead and take a safety pin and start putting our ribbon through the space that we made for the ribbon to go through. And I cannot describe this part. You have to just see and watch and see what I'm doing and just follow along. I also put the link to a video down below in the description bar, that video that I watched to create this pouch. I did things a little bit differently, but nonetheless I kind of still followed the same procedures. The only thing I did was a French seam and she did not. So well, I did quite a bit differently, to be honest with you, but watching that you'll get the idea of what to do to create this pouch. And if y'all want to see another video on how I made the pouch that I'm showing here, just a clearer video, I'll go ahead and do that. But you can make this pouch with whatever material that you have handy in the house. Like I had this ribbon and tulle and I made a pouch out of it, so you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Once you finish threading the ribbon through, you're going to go ahead and tie a knot on both both sides. Anyway, this is the finished look of the pouch, and I went ahead and put her pants in there, and everything was finito and done. I felt so good about it. I eventually went back and put a label in the gray pants, like my custom label, but this is the finished results, and I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe, follow me on social media, and until next time, lovelies, later.